What is going on, y'all? So, finally getting all this snow, winter, slush, dirt mix off my trailer. I've been running the Northwest for a while. And I made a not so logical decision the other day. So I figured I'd tell you guys about it. I recorded it a little while ago. And let's get into it. Good morning, welcome back to another video. So winter driving is, I haven't made a winter driving video since I was at Prime, but winter driving is such a, I don't even know how to put it. It's ups and downs. Like, there's two sides to winter driving. One, I really don't mind winter driving. You know, I have a couple winters under my belt. I'm not saying I'm perfect in the winter, but you know, I have experience. Like, you know, obviously if the roads are bad, I'm probably not going to be driving. But like this, you know, this is winter driving still. The roads are clear. Well, they've been cleared out. Winter storm came through here yesterday. I think I'm on Highway 130, California 139. And just the scenery is, you know, I really...
At the end of the street, turn left.
Thanks. at the end of the street. Coming out here driving in the wintertime, taking back highways and things like that, I really enjoy. I mean, obviously I definitely enjoy it a lot more in the summer. I have a lot less things to worry about. But in the winter, I really enjoy just being able to drive. You know, I haven't seen another vehicle since I started driving. I don't know, like an hour ago or so. I actually stopped back at the new Love's. They just built a brand new Love's in Klamath Falls, Oregon. It's actually a really nice Love's. But I like being able to drive, or, you know, it's just me. And don't really have to worry about much. You know, obviously the weather is good right now. There was a winter storm like a day and a half ago, and there's a winter storm coming tonight. So I'm like shooting the gap in between the two storms so I can get to where I'm going. And I really just like coming out here and being able to look around and enjoy the view without having to worry about, oh, okay, I've seen my first car now. I don't think you guys can see it, but I see it over there. I really enjoy just being able to just
turn left at the stop sign.
Not really having to worry about much, just really just enjoy the scenery. You know, have a, good Lord, rumble strips are a thing to experience out here. I really just being able to enjoy just coming out, you know, obviously come out and do my job, but just kind of just take a moment to myself and kind of enjoy what's around. You know, obviously I'm not getting out because it's 8 degrees. So I'm certainly not getting outside until I get to where I'm going, which, I mean, if in 205 miles, if it's still 8 degrees, that's going to be a problem. But it's not supposed to be this cold where I'm going, so that's okay. Nothing. And a car at the last second, but I got plenty of time.
Continue on California 299.
Now we're on 299. So I've actually never been on this route before, and it's been okay. Now, I did take, I think it was Oregon 58 yesterday. I took Oregon 58 yesterday up through, I think it's the Black Rock Mountains, I believe it was. Now that, and I could not record because the roads were not good. The roads were not good. And there's kind of like conflicting signs coming, you know, going up that mountain, it was like change required. Then the next time it was like change not required. It was like change required, but traction tires were okay. It was like very conflicting. So, you know, those of you who were at Prime or knew I drove for Prime, not paying attention in a small town, you know, you guys know that we carry chains. You know, at least back when I first started, chains were the only option. So I used to carry chains, but when I came over to Landstar, I made a point to myself that I would not drive anywhere that chains were required. So I made the switch from tire chains to tire socks. Now, the thing about tire socks, if the entire road is not completely snow packed, you know, if you run on this, even if you're driving slow, you'll tear the socks apart. So going up Oregon 58 is like change required, change not required, change required, change not required. So at a point, I came to a chain up area. The sign was not lit, but I slowed down just to kind of gauge what the road would kind of be, and to see if I was going to go ahead and put my tire socks on. So I was getting ready to pull off. I noticed there was a few trucks coming. So again, great thing to have a radio, especially in the winter. Hopped on the radio and I asked, like, hey, I see that chain, I saw coming up, some of the chain signs were lit, some of them were not. What were the roads like? Were they just wet concrete, or were they, actually snow and ice? And they were like, it's about 60 to 70% just wet concrete, until you get to the tunnel. And I was like, okay, well, what's with the tunnel? It's like, well, the tunnel is covered in ice. I was like, okay, is there a place that I can just pull over by the tunnel because I have tire socks? They're like, yeah, I think so. On your side, there's a place where you can pull over real quick and throw those on and then take them off on the other side. I was like, okay. So, I didn't pull over in the chain area because it's mostly wet concrete. Even if you're on wet concrete, it's going to tear the socks up. So it's like, my socks are expensive. So I had to put them on the truck and the trailer, and they're $400 a pair. So I didn't want to do that. And just to tear them up, and then I'd have nothing. I'd rather drive, if I felt it was safe. And at the time, I did feel it was safe. I'd rather drive, and then if I got to a point where I got stuck, then I would hop out, put my tire socks on, get unstuck, and then take them back off, as long as there was no snow-packed roads or ice. So driving up the mountain, and just like you said, mostly just wet concrete. So I just stayed in the little road trails that other trucks make, or other trucks and cars make. I just stayed in their little tire tracks, and my tires were warm because I had just drove down from Seattle, so I'd already driven like 300 miles, something like that. So I had fairly a good amount of confidence that my tires were warm enough to make it through. And before y'all jump ahead of me, yes, I was right. I made it all the way through, obviously, because you're getting this video way after the fact. But one thing those drivers were wrong about is that there was no turnoff area before the tunnel. So that part was interesting. And there was one other part of the mountain. It was a decline. One story at a time. Got up to the tunnel, no place to pull off when I was coming up to it. Everyone in front of me, and it was a long line in front of me and long line going the opposite way as well. We were all doing, I think, could have been like 9, 10, 11 miles an hour. So I couldn't pull off, so I kind of freaked out a little bit because, like, they were absolutely correct. There was nothing but ice in that tunnel. So I freaked out a little bit, but I was like, you know what? Just take it slow, take it calm, and no sudden movements. Just get through the tunnel. It was like a small incline, but not really a serious incline. But went through the tunnel just fine. I had no issues in the tunnel driving on the ice. Now, please do not take my story as advice to do what I did. I do not recommend you do what I did, because if I would have known that I was coming up to this region, I would have went and bought chains, just to have chains just for this little route that I'm doing, and then would have gotten rid of them. Like I don't plan on carrying chains. But again, this is my decision, and I've come to you guys to tell you about my experiences, so you can either A, follow my example, or B, do not do what I do. And this is one of those videos. Do not do what I did. So, made it through the tunnel, and I was fine. Made it to the top. Just kept my acceleration really, really down. Like, very minimal acceleration, so I didn't, slip and slide all over the place. Made it to the top, started coming down, no issues. I got to a point on the downgrade, I was already coming down about 20, 25. I think the highest I saw was like 28 miles an hour on the straightaway, but took it extremely slow, because as some of you know, many of you may not know, if you tap those brakes, especially if you're on ice, it takes a second to lock your tires up, and then, you're basically in jackknife central. Like, anything can happen. But you're basically just sliding down a downgrade. So I did all engine brake, slight tap of the brakes, and not any hard pressure, literally just a slight tap to increase my engine brake, because that's how Volvos work. You can put it on all the way, and you can get a little bit more engine brake strength. If you tap the brakes a little bit, it'll brake you a little more, because you're telling the computer that you want to slow down a little bit more than what the computer's currently doing. Anyway, I got to a point where I was coming down the hill, going down a downgrade, and I got to a curve, and it was a kind of a elongated curve, so I could only see like enough to where I felt comfortable, and which I was wrong about that. So at that point, I was the only one in front of me, and there was a line behind me. There was a car that tried to get around me, and he spun out. He regained control and rejoined the line, and everyone just stayed behind me the whole time, which was fine. It got to a point in the curve, and like I said, I had to be doing like 20, 25, because we're going downhill. Got to a point in the curve, and there was two cars. Well, there was two cars, and there was a car stuck behind another car who I guess decided, I'm sure it was a safe idea for them, completely dangerous for everybody else, but they were going to do 5 to 10 miles an hour. And now again, I'm on a downgrade in a curve, and I'm doing 20. Let's say I was doing 20. I had enough time for me to react. Now, I think if it was anybody else, especially some of y'all who drive distracted, there was no reaction time to be able to avoid hitting these cars. But I had enough reaction where, I saw them, and I couldn't slam on the brakes, but I immediately, proceeded with the stab braking method, which I learned from Prime. But I stab braked as quickly as I could to get as slow as I could before, obviously, my deer guard hit their bumper. And I was able to successfully stop just before that car. Now, that's why I say don't do what I do, because if I had chains, I probably would have felt a little better being able to stop with enough distance where I didn't get that close. However, I did not have that option. Now, the ground was not snow-packed, it was just wet concrete, but it was cold, so I was nervous that the roads were icy if I stop, if I slammed on the brakes too hard, and then, my trailer will be right next to me. I didn't want that. So I just stabbed brakes as quickly as I could, got down slow enough, and then we continued doing 5 miles an hour down this little path. We got to a point where there was a passing lane. 2 cars went past me, everybody else stayed behind me. The car that was right in front of me went around that car, and that car actually ended up pulling off, so I was able to get by, and so did the rest of us. So that that was okay. And then the rest of the time, no issues at all. So when I say winter driving, like probably yesterday's drive, which is why there is absolutely zero footage outside of my camera system. There's absolutely no footage whatsoever from yesterday's drive because I needed 100% attention on that road. And it made me nervous. Yesterday was probably the nervous I've ever been driving in the winter based off of the circumstances. Like I said, I do not recommend doing that. If I could go back in time, I would have waited a few more hours, if not another day, before attempting to do that. Because, like I said, there was no snowstorm hitting at the time, and the next snowstorm wasn't hitting until I think it's tonight. So I think today's Saturday. Yeah, today's Saturday. So the next snowstorm that was hitting that area would have been Saturday. So they would have had a lot more time to, de-ice the tunnel, continue clearing the roads, and made it a little bit safer, for people like me, and shame on me. This is not like, I'm not a superhero. Shame on me for not having chains, especially in this region. But, I just wanted to get through because I saw the gap in the snowstorm, so I thought it would be clear enough. I checked the traffic cameras. It looked like wet concrete. It had already been paved out. I did what I thought was safe. It was safe enough, but I do not recommend doing that. So, outside of that, outside of, driving east when the sun is coming up, and, my sun visor is not low enough to catch it for me, probably low enough to catch it for you guys. But outside of that, I really just like coming out to the northwest area. Like I said, I came down from Seattle, Washington, and came down just the scenery and the being able to look at stuff and actually enjoy nature, with the windows up because it's freezing cold. It's one of the things I really enjoy about this job, is just being able to go out and see stuff you don't normally see. Like, those of you guys that know, you guys know I'm based out of Georgia. There's nothing in Georgia but basically city. I can't see crap. It's basically just city, city streets, and is it low enough now? Yes. It's basically just city streets and nothing, for the most part. So being able to come out and enjoy the mountains, that's a good win for me. It's a good win. But anyway, winter driving, y'all increase your following distance. Like, if it's not safe, don't drive. No one can force you to drive but you. Don't fall into the pressure of your dispatcher or your company, or whatever the case may be. Like, if it's not an emergency, don't drive. Just be safe, do what's best for you, and also do what's best for the motorists around you, because especially you guys know, as being truck drivers, we are the professionals. So even though we get no respect on the road whatsoever, we are the professionals. So if you know that you can't safely make it down the road, don't go down the road, But that's all I came to, not really rant, it was more like a story time kind of video. But that was about all I needed to say in this video. I've been waiting for this guy to pass me for a long time, who should also be doing 55 because he's towing. But anyway, that's gonna be it for this video. I just want to make a quick little short video. I just finished the 34, and fortunately but unfortunately, I'm going to get to my destination with enough time to take another 34-hour reset. So that's gonna be fun. Am I? Yeah, I will have enough time for another 34. I'm probably gonna get a hotel room. I'll see if I might do a live. I don't know. I will see how it goes. But anyway, y'all be safe. Try and ride out the rest of the winter. We're almost out. And like I always say, if you're thinking, do it logically. Unlike myself yesterday. Make good decisions, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.